Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Ahmad Amiruddin bin Azman. My matric number is 1715245. I am from the course Industrial Economics ECON 4220, and my topic for today is Game Theory and Politics. So, before I continue with my presentation and video and my content, I would just like to ask you a question. Have you ever wondered how decisions are made? How we make the decisions we make daily? Oftentimes, these decisions are made by our own will, but a large factor is that it is influenced by other parties and other people that we interact with in our lives. That is game theory, ladies and gentlemen. And for today, I'll be talking about game theory and how it is implemented within politics and its real-life applications to begin with. So now, the question that we must ask, what is game theory? Game theory is the study of how interdependent decision makers make their choices, which means it discusses how an individual or how parties make choices that most benefits them or reduces the most harms onto them. Each game must consists of players' actions, strategies, payoffs, outcomes, equilibria, and also information. Now, let's talk about some of the game theory concepts. The first is the zero-sum game, where at the end of the game there will only be one winner. An example that we can take is an individual's performance to the stock market. While to some extent it can be relevant to the zero-sum game, but it can also be relevant to other forms of game theory concepts, as I will explain a bit later. The next concept that we can talk about is the prisoner's dilemma. In prisoner's dilemma, oligopoly game has games of collusion, which are typically non-zero-sum games, which means that in the end, both parties are able to benefit from each other in terms of getting the most benefit or mitigate the most harms. The next concept is the games of mixed strategy, in which both players place strategies, and either strategy is good for them. And lastly is the repeated games, where most oligopoly games are played repeatedly, which means that they will continue the same game over and over again. Usually, in real life, it is infinite where there is no end to this game. Now, let's move on to some real-life examples of game theory in politics. The first is when it comes to ethnic conflicts. The second is party coalitions. So when we look at ethnic conflicts, we can look at a case study done by Ismoglu and Walitsky in 2014. In the paper, they illustrated that for a potential conflict, the choices are either aggression or war. So the illustration given is that assuming Group A shows signs of aggression, Group B will have to decide whether to prepare for aggression or not, in order to prepare an aggression of attack from the opposing group. This in turn will cause Group A to further prepare for retaliation from Group B. Hence, this will cause a spiral in which both sides continue to prepare for aggression. However, the spiral will end when the two groups decide to opt for diplomacy. The last example that I will bring here is political coalitions, which is a form of game theory, i.e. the prisoner's dilemma. These politicians are all prisoners to the goal of maintaining power. Since the goal is then to decide whether or not to collude or not with other politicians and other parties to help maintain political power. We can see this within Malaysia, where a lot of people, a lot of parties and politicians jump ship or change loyalties, according to which helps them the most when it comes to maintaining political power. Hence, the overall objective of these politicians is to maintain seats in parliament. So if, let's say, the decision to collude allows them to maintain power longer, hence they will choose that. However, if the decision to remain alone is more beneficial to them, hence they would most likely not collude with any other politicians. In conclusion, game theory applies a lot of aspects within our life. It is especially important to note that it happens in politics as well, where a lot of the impacts of political activities impact the citizens on the ground. Hence, this is why I think that politics is extremely relevant when it comes to using game theory concepts. Thank you.